Alright, so stop me if you've heard this one before. So Bartz, Boko, and Noctis walk into a bar, and they go up to the bartender, and they're like, hey, I want to play with a new party deck. So this is an updated form of Bartz Boko, which originally came out in Opus 12. Now we've got Noctis to add to the party fun. Noctis is great because he can party with forwards of any element, so even though he's light, it doesn't matter, he can party with anyone. And then anytime he sees a party formed, you get to pick one of the following actions, or if a party is formed with 3 forwards or more, then you get to pick 2 options. So you can choose a forward, hit it for 8,000, you can break a monster, you can give Noctis himself haste, you can dull freeze a character, or you can draw a card. He's fantastic for the party deck because one of those options will always be live for you. Even if they had an empty board, you can just draw cards. Dull freezing their backups is really strong. Again, if there's a troublesome forward, he can just blast them for 8k. And then, of course, the monster break's always there if you need it. A lot of times, if you put, like, you've got Bartz Boko down, Noctis will be there. You can have them party. Now, Noctis gets haste. If there's someone else there, Noctis can now party with them, or he can just run in by himself. Really, really fun card. Has really just given Bartz Boko just this extra oomph, which is awesome. It really needed. And we got a few other new tools. I'm going to mainly touch on those. I will spread out the whole deck, but there's a lot of stuff that's just kind of classic Bartz Boko in here that I'll just briefly go over. Let's talk about the new stuff. We got this awesome new Ultros card, which seems like it was specifically made for Bartz Boko because it doesn't actually really work super well in the Ultros deck because there's only one way to pull it directly from the deck. But anyways, if Ultros hits the field directly from the deck, then he gets to choose a forward and then send it to the bottom of its owner's deck. So whatever their biggest target is, you can just yeet it right to the bottom, won't get any exit triggers. Chances are they're not going to see it again unless they specifically, like search for it or something. And then Ultros, if his Bartz is out, can then immediately go in. I've never really used Ultros' self ability here where you can pay 2, put him back into the deck, shuffle, and try to reveal him again. You just don't really need it with Bartz' effect, but it is technically there if you want it. Now, in ways to help support Noctis, 1 copy of Materia. I have to be honest, I don't really like this card, but there's no denying the power it has here. Bartz Boko party attack, Materia can come right to the field. You then just pitch a single card from hand. Boom, you're going to bring Noctis right to the field. Now Noctis is set up to see any future triggers. It's kind of unfortunate because he won't see that initial trigger from like Bartz Boko or whoever partied, but he is set up to do future ones. However, Materia is very easy to get rid of, and God help you if they have a Cuchulainn, because they'll just blank Materia, and then Materia and Noctis will both die, and they'll draw a card, which is real bad. It's happened to me before. However, the nice thing, too, is because Noctis is such a threat, there's a very good chance Noctis will die before Materia, so because of that, you actually will often get to draw a card off of her effect as well. Anyway, she's one of the ones that I'll kind of talk about later. You could potentially cut Materia. There's 4 light cards in this deck, and sometimes you will naturally draw into Noctis, and I've had 2 Noctises in hand before. My hand's kind of junked up, so there are times I've thought about going to just 2 Noctis or cutting Materia for something. However, then, especially like if I've run 2 Noctis, 1 gets hit into damage, now I've only got 1 left in the entire deck. So that always feels really bad. So you kind of got to give and take on those. So to help Noctis stay alive, because it's so important, Luna Freya. So if you've got her on the field, there's actually 2 Luna Freya, because there's one in the picture beside him. The only unfortunate thing about Luna Freya is, without Noctis, she's completely worthless. She can't attack or block, which I don't think was necessary at all. I don't know why they felt the need to put that text on there. But so she can come off of Bartz Boko. So like I said, you can play Noctis beforehand, Bartz Boko party attack. Now Noctis, you can give him haste so he can attack. Have Luna Freya come to the field. Now Luna Freya is going to have haste to Bartz, so both of those 2 can go in right away, which is nice. Trigger another Noctis trigger. And then when she enters the field, you get to choose a category 15 forward, which is Noctis, and it gets 2,000 power, and it can't be chosen by anything while Luna Freya is on the field. So when you can set that up, it's great, because sans some kind of big board clear, they have to deal with Luna Freya first before they can deal with Noctis, which is really nice. The only crappy thing about her is that ability is on entry. I really wish they'd somehow worded it so that it could just be any time, because you have to have Noctis out first before you bring Luna Freya out. Would have been nice to be able to already have Luna Freya on the field and then replay a Noctis. Still get the protection, but whatever. 1 copy of Edge. In particular, I put this in because I played against Sky Pirates, and Bismarck and Pinello are just awful against this deck. If they've got Bismarck on the field and they can dull 2 forwards, or they've got Pinello, I mean, you're never going to get to do an attack with Boko, because the moment you go to combat, they're just going to dull 2 of their forwards, ping off Boko. Pinello will drain it for 3,000. Whereas Edge, if they do try to hit Boko or anyone for like big fire damage, a blaze comes in to try to blow up, Boko and Materia, Edge can say, well, I can at least take off some of that. Now he's specific because it's ability that's only choosing 1 wind forward, so Blaze was a bad example because he can hit 2. But again, if they try to pit Bismarck ping, hey, you can at least siphon 1 away. I like Edge for that. And our newest, one of our best tools, 3 copies of Jekt. Jekt has an ability that when he enters, as long as 1 forward attacks, he gets to bounce something, but if 3 forwards attack, you get to break a forward and draw a card. And in the party deck, that's just insanely common. You're way often having 3 forwards attack. I've actually purposely I did Bartz Boko, they were my only 2 forwards, pulled out Ultros bounced something out of the way, and then I actually swung in with Ultros, even though they still had like 1 defender, and Ultros died, but again, it made the Jekt trigger, so that way Jekt could come in and just break that last defender, draw a card. And then of course Jekt block will protect you from anything, which is awesome, so save your Jeks. Now, originally, back in Opus 12, I made a deck tech on Bartz Boko that was very mid-rangey, had like 16 backups. This deck is way more aggressive, and I think it's just better for it. So, there's only 10 backups in the whole deck. I'm going to show them to you now. 2 copies of Nordstalin. That can search out Stiltskin, which will grab you any 1 CP forward, or 1 cost forward, which is most everything in the deck. Usually I'm always using that to grab Boko, unless on occasion I've already got Boko. Maybe I'll grab Materia with that. Maybe I'll grab something else random. Kais will activate when a party triggers, which is very nice. So you can party attack. After you've played something, Kais will reactivate, and now you've just got a little extra CP to spend. It makes the Jeks and the Yunas a lot easier to bring down. And then if a party attacks, you can actually play Kais for free. So in your opening hand, if you've got enough to do, let's say you go second, and you can go Bartz Boko, turn 1, attack, and then just slam the kites down for free, which is nice. Fiona can also be searched out. I don't really use her search a character very often, but it's just another card that can be searched off Nordstalin, as well as she can be searched off of Sarah because she is a princess. Sarah, for some reason, can't search out Andoria because she doesn't search queens. I don't know why that is, but she can also search out Noctis. So if you really need to get Noctis, you can put down Sarah, go grab Noctis, grab Fiona. 1 copy of Aria 2. It's another way to search out Bartz. Bartz is so key to the deck that you need ways to get him, and trust me, there's multiple ways to search him. Andoria is a good one, and it's one of the very few bursts in this deck. Very few bursts, so do not rely on that as a mechanic. Andoria, there's our queen, should be able to be searched out by Sarah, but not. Anytime a party deals damage to your opponent, draw a card. Boko will also have that effect. She's very standard in Bartz Boko. And finally, this Chocobo. Not only do I like this card because it can be searched out by Azana, which we have 2 copies of here, but its effect is actually pretty relevant. It can let your water and your winds party attack together. It can let the light party attack with other people, and then you can dull him to do that effect again. That does come up on occasion. 3 copies of Chocobo just to give Azana some more targets, and its protection. Again, there's no recursion in this deck. Once a Bartz dies, it's gone, so you have to keep Bartz alive. And you really want to keep Boko alive too, but Bartz especially is key. Again, with protection, 2 copies of Leviathan. One of the other very few EX bursts in this deck. And again, they're going to try and nuke Bartz. Leviathan, keep him alive, protect him. Another way to get Bartz, 3 copies of Sildra. Between Sildra, Arya, naturally drawing him, Stiltskin, I've never really found I've struggled to find Bartz unless you're just insanely unlucky. Surely you're going to get one of those cards, at least in the first couple cards of your deck. So this is more standard Bartz Boko stuff. 3 copies of Yuna. Come in after a party attack, draw 2 cards. She can party with anyone, which is really nice. If you get Yuna and Noctis going off in 1 turn, you're basically guaranteed to win. It's really hard to see how you could lose that because Yuna's going to party swing. Maybe Noctis blows up something for 8. Yuna reduces something by 8. Whatever you want to do. And got to keep that board alive. 3 copies of Y'shtola. Protects against every form of board wipe. Stop any major key abilities. And again, you get Jekt and Y'shtola out there and you've got Jekt block. What are they going to do? You can just stop anything they put down. And then finishing it off, 2 copies of Black Chocobo that can be searched out by Izana. as well as 3 copies of White Mage. Very, very key card in both fire matchups as well as ping-based matchups. So once someone was using Ice Wind Barrel Eye against me once, and they went to Barrel Eye attack and like had a no-no reactivate, it's like, I'm just going to pop the White Mage, protect the whole board. Sometimes, off my very first Bartz Boko trigger, when I play against people who play fire a lot, I'll immediately go search out White Mage because I know they're just going to try to counter with Blaze or Shisamo or something. So I'm happy to immediately go search that. What I like about this is, especially with the new Noctis, the deck feels very, very explosive. You'll just have this turn where you go Bartz Boko. If you're lucky, they won't have any blockers. You'll hit for damage, draw 2 cards. Bartz is bringing out something. Maybe he brings out Noctis, and you just go off, and it's just really quick. Some things you need to be aware of, though, is that it's both linear and complex. What's linear about it is that you're always doing the same thing. You're trying to get Bartz Boko, you're trying to party attack. You want to get Noctis out there and just party, but just throw the biggest party your block's ever seen quick before the cops come. However, what makes that, so that's the linear part about it, right? The complex part is that, what do you get? Do you get Ultros to bounce something out of the way? Do you get Materia to go get Noctis? If you can party Bartz and Boko, Black Chocobo and Boko together, that's what you really want to do, because a good opponent's going to step in front of Boko and kill him because they don't want you drawing cards off of that. So those two are really key to put together. Freya is going to keep your Noctis alive. So just that'll be something you kind of have to figure out as you're playing the lines. Ironically, despite there only being 10 backups in this deck, often when I play this deck, I'm usually drawing a bunch of backups and putting them down early. I don't know why it works out that way. If you can go turn 2, again, if you go second and you have the ability to put Bartz, Boko, and either Andoria or Kais down, absolutely do it. Because if you do 1 for Andoria, a blue card, that's 2, you've got 5 left in hand. 1 for Boko, you'll have 3 left in hand, then the last 2 for Bartz. You can have Bartz Boko immediately go in, hit him for damage. That's going to draw you for Boko, draw you for Andoria, and you'll bring out another forward, maybe White Mage, maybe Materia, whatever you want. Probably you wouldn't want to do Materia because at the time of her entry you won't have to be able to pay for it, but either way, you'll hit him for 2 points of damage, you'll have 3 forwards on the board, you drew 2 cards back. Feels awesome. Feel free to be aggressive. As far as tech choices, this White Mage is absolutely worth a look. I mentioned that Bismarck matchup earlier. He cannot die to Bismarck because it doesn't matter how many times they ping him, it's just going to keep falling off. Can be really resistant in fire matchups too. It's not going to die to a Blaze. And then when he forms a party, he gives his protection to that party. So if White Mage and Boko go together, yeah, it's only 6,000 power, but everyone in the party gets decreased 3,000 damage. So they're going to need, another 6 total to get through both of them? That's a lot of damage to ask for. And a card I want to mention is the new Legend Porum from Opus 15. That card, kind of similar to Bismarck, Pinello, can completely just shut this match down because anytime you go to combat, they're just going to blank Bartz. Now you have no haste. He can't search anything out. Really craps on the deck. So if you wanted to go a little more aggressive, instead of doing like the Leviathans for protection, consider this Diabolos, because that Porum is going to get counters on it to increase its power. Diabolos will just break it immediately, so then you don't have to deal with it anymore. So, 2 things to consider. Anyway, that's Opus 15 Bartz Boko and Noctis Walk Into a Bar. Hope you enjoy it. And enjoy Opus 15. We'll see you next time. Bye!